Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And we're just going to get right into it. The big question that we have is how in the world did our ancestors, our grandparents and great grandparents, make it in their marriages 50, 60, 80 years? How did it happen? So, yeah.
Simple. They couldn't leave. They relied on
Yes.
that man. That's a good question. I feel like people from back in the day, I hate to say that, I say that loosely. I feel like people from back in the day tolerated so much more. And I feel like the times were obviously different. I mean, I think that people were more traditional back in the day, and the husband and the wife were not working and taking care of home. I think the man was going out doing all those things, and so it made it a little bit more tolerable, in my opinion. Or did they overlook things? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. Did things happen and they overlooked
I
it?
think it is a lot of things, a whole gambit of reasons and situations why people, lasted in their marriage so long. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing because it can kind of come off as like they had to do it, so they did it. But I do think that a lot of older people back in the day didn't have space to express that they were tired, or they didn't have space to express I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. And so they became complacent, or they just became so used to the run of the mill, like, this is what you do, this is your role, this is how you act, this is what you don't say. And they just did it for so long, they couldn't imagine not doing it.
I feel like people, I mean, I kind of do feel like maybe they had to stay for whatever reason that was, regardless if it were because they could not afford to live on their own. Their lifestyle had been accustomed to what their significant other was doing. I feel like, is it because people want to stay together because of the children? Is it because religious reasons? They don't believe in divorce, or, unless the significant other cheated on you, you shouldn't get divorced. And sadly to say, I also feel like things were more accepting. If there was infidelity, I feel like they tolerated it
Right.
more. If there were things that happened, I felt like they
And it was
tolerated it
more.
more, opposed to the independent woman that
Hmm.
they are
And it
now.
was more like a shame on the woman as opposed to the man
Yes.
for the infidelity. Like, it was her fault for some reason. So just keep it quiet, act like it didn't happen, and we can keep this, I guess, contract, keep this contract going. And people can whisper and talk, but we're not going to validate, their whispers by getting a divorce. We're just going to mind our business and we're going to keep it moving.
Yeah, it's like what happens in their
Yeah.
house stays in their house type of thing. Now they go home and they're miserable, but then when they get out, in public, then it's like the
Right.
best couple. So I feel like, like I said, people are not as tolerating as they were then. And I also feel like there can be all the red flags in the world in our generation now, but for the sake of saying I'm married, then that's all I think people care about is like the wedding and the ring. I don't think that people really put the work in for
Hmm.
a marriage. And so, when we have so many other options in our grasp, then I feel like people are just not standing by tolerating it like they
Yeah.
used to. Not so much as I guess really honoring their marriage how they used to back in the day, possibly. And I think that, coming from a woman's point of view, I feel like you kind of feel much more like safer being able to talk about the things that are
Hmm.
happening. A lot more people are seeking help. I think that in this day and time, people don't feel as bad or awkward having therapy and talking about their relationships. And I believe that back then you were not supposed to be discussing your significant
Hmm.
other. So I think that a lot of that plays a part
Yeah,
too.
I agree. I think that I don't want to say people don't honor marriage anymore, but I think that people think that it is easier to jump ship. And like you were saying, people don't really think about putting in the work that it comes with a marriage. They just think about preparing the wedding and they think about the honeymoon and they say the vows, but I don't think that they really understand the vows until they're living them, until they're living for better or worse, until they're living for sicker for poor, sicker, better, richer, poor, until they're actually in those
Yeah.
situations. It's like a fairy tale. And then when it becomes reality, it's like, did I really mean what I said? Do I have what it takes? Do I really want to do this? And all these questions start coming up. And back then, I think that it wasn't a question. You said what you said, you meant what you said, and it's just
That's
how it
just how it
was. Yeah.
was. I think when I use the word like honoring your match, it's specifically what you said, through sickness and in health, through richer or for poor. Because I mean, I've been married for 11 years, and I could imagine when I felt like we were, not as
Yeah.
financially stable. And then you think about, like, man, I should have waited, or I should have built a much more lucrative savings account. And then you have those conversations with your significant other before you get married, and you think that you want to plan all these things. I don't want to have children until we're at this financial level, or you want to have the house and you want to do all these things that look good. And then, say, for instance, by the grace of God, those things do happen. But then, I mean, we experienced COVID. We experienced people get laid off. And so, even that was a
Mhm.
trying time. And I just feel like if you are not really ready to like struggle with your significant other, that also is very hard, because the fantasy is the ring and um the wedding, and when those things fade and when you truly get out of that honeymoon phase, it is
Mhm.
difficult. Very difficult. I mean, if I could go back and change anything, I probably would have waited to
Yeah.
have my children. I can absolutely say that, hands down, me and my husband have a, I don't want to say a better time, but we get to know each other again. We get to experience each other again, opposed to having to be everything for everybody
Yeah.
in that moment. Before you were a wife and a mom and a co-worker and all these things, you were your
Mhm.
own person. And I think that when you get into those relationships, you
Yeah,
lose yourself.
definitely. And the longer you are in a marriage, I think people also don't take into account that they're going to be changing. If you're not changing and growing, you're dying.
Yes.
And so you get into a relationship with a specific version of somebody. And to this person, yes, I'm going to be faithful. If they're sick, I'm going to be by their side. If they broke, I'm going to be broke with them, or I'm going to be trying to build them up. But then
Right.
what happens when 5 years later, this person has gone through the loss of a parent, or they've gone through a job loss, or they've gone through an injury, or they've gone through these things and they change. So now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I made a vow to this particular person, but that's not the same person anymore. So you have got to, when you make those marriage vows, when you say them, you have to know and understand, which I don't think people do. I didn't understand it, that you are making a
Right.
vow to this person at all versions of themselves: mad, stank, happy, hungry, pitiful, just all of it.
Yeah.
And that is hard to wrap your mind around because, again, you're not in it yet. You are just with this person who you googly eyed over and just so in love
Yes.
with, and you haven't experienced them at their worst.
And I also, piggybacking off that, I honestly feel like, to me, whether you're married or not, you could have been with someone for a long period of time. I feel like when you are in a long lasting relationship, to me, it's all about falling in and out of love with that same person, just over and over and over and over again. Because, I can say whenever I met my husband, I thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread. And then as time went on and we experienced, several loss just with us having infertility issues, those types of situations,
Mhm.
change each other. And especially, I mean, in my situation, we got married and then we decided to try for our children pretty early on, and just not being able to do that as you plan those things, that's hard. I know for me, I felt like he wasn't as sad as I was sad, but then you have to like, I had to learn that, okay, he shows his feelings differently
Right.
than mine. And it was, it's hard, and you have to be willing to ask for help. And I guess I will assume and say that, you should not be scared to do those things and or feel like you can't do those things. And I think that maybe our ancestors back then held
Oh
those
yeah,
things in and or didn't feel comfortable to express
definitely.
those things. And so, I feel like it
Hmm.
was accepting.
Yeah, and they didn't have therapy, and you was weak if you needed help, and you
Yes.
if you broke down, like men don't cry, and just keep your issues to yourself. Don't go airing your dirty laundry. And so just basically putting themselves in a bubble or like suffocating themselves because of pride or because of,
Yes.
whatever the case was. And nowadays it is easier, I think, but you also have to have two willing parties because it takes two in a relationship.
Yeah.
And if you are not comfortable being vulnerable, if you're not comfortable um changing, or if you're not willing, then that's just going to make it harder on you and your spouse. Like, I don't know.
Do you feel like you see a lot more of your friends, associates, peers, your age or older or younger, that have long lasting marriages?
Hmm. Let me see. So, I don't really have a lot of friends.
Womp,
Right.
womp, womp.
Um but anyway, me personally, I am on my second marriage. And so
Hmm.
my first marriage lasted 7 years. And my current marriage, I will be married for 6 years this coming Sunday. So I get
Get
it.
it?
So I personally never thought that I would ever get divorced just because
Okay.
of, my mentality when it comes to honoring my vows and just being the woman that
Yeah.
I am, stand by your man and stuff. Didn't work out that way. Life boom bop whopped me upside the head, and I was like, I'm out of here. So it did.
Two fingers to the
Right.
side.
He's hard. But
Right.
so me personally, I feel like I have what it takes to stick it out and to stay married through the hard times and um the up and down and all that stuff. I think I have what it takes. When it comes to my friends, like you've been married 11 years. Um, and I think that witnessing you go through, the different ups and downs, highs and lows and stuff, I think that is what marriage is about. The resilience and just keep on keeping on and accept the good with the bad. And so I think that's a good testament to, longevity in a marriage. I have one other friend, and she has been married 6 years. And, she calls and cries or, vents or whatever, but she's still sticking it
Yeah.
out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that it's tough, it's bad, but I'm still here. So I only have like two
Yeah.
witnesses to long-ish marriages.
Do you think, I mean, I know it's probably a cliche question, but do you think that it's difficult being married at such a young age? I think 36 is young, but do you think that it's difficult? Because obviously, if you've been married for, you said 6 years, you got married when you were 30, and then you were married for 7 years prior to that. Do you feel like, from your first marriage being even younger to now this marriage, do you think that it's good or bad to marry young, or do you think that age does not matter when it comes to marrying?
That's a tough question because I honestly feel like it is the person's character. I feel like it is
Okay.
the couple and not really age, if that matters. I think that it is, I think it's cool to marry young. I think that it's cool to be able to go through life with another person at all of your stages, your young, wild, and free, and then your settling down mentality, and then your grinding mentality, and then your, um, getting over the hill and retirement and grandkids. It is so beautiful, I think, to be able to have that type of relationship with somebody. I do think that it is hard. It will be harder because, again, you don't stay married to the same person. You are experiencing all of this person's mood swings, personality changes, all of their growth, all of their disappointments, and so it could be harder because you're
Yeah.
with them longer. And you can like them,
You
yeah,
sick of
you
them.
can like them like 5 minutes ago, and then now they
Yeah.
just like, oh, I can't imagine being married to you for 20 more years, let alone, you know 20 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I'm 36. I got married 11 years ago, so I was how
25.
old? Young. I feel I was like five, take away the one, carry the three. So I feel like I don't know if I feel like I kind of do feel like I married young, but I feel like because Jared is so old. Boom, boom, tink. No, I think it's because I feel like Jared at the time and is was just way more mature than me. He has a very old soul, but I think I needed that. I think I absolutely needed that to be reeled back in. But I did early on find myself trying to like push him to do the things that I was interested in, and I think that he had already experienced those things
Yeah.
in his life, and or just really was not interested to even do
Right.
those things at that time. So I do believe that you know you are experiencing that person when through all different stages, because now I can't imagine not having
Yeah.
him in my life. And I think it's because I am at that stage now of like that older mentality. And I just be thinking like, I cannot stay up past 8 o'clock to go to nobody's club,
Yeah.
nobody's bar. So yeah, I do think that it is fun to kind of look back and be like, man, tell my girls that I got married at 25, and when me and dad met, we were equally
Yeah.
broke together, and it's just as beautiful to see where we are now, and it's beautiful that my children can see it, and I'm the first to say it did not come without
Yeah.
struggle. But I mean, you're right. I mean, just trying to keep it going because I truly do feel like I love my baby daddy every
Hmm.
day, but sometimes I do
Uh,
not like him. And I feel like, that comes with long
yeah.
relationships. And again, I don't care if it is a marriage, you're dating, I don't care if it's a friendship. I mean, people outgrow friendships all the
Mhm.
time. And I feel like it's easier to obviously get out of it. And when you're married, it's, obviously a much bigger obstacle to be able to jump over if you want to leave. And so I think that also plays a part, but I think it's worth it. And I think that if you can stand the fight, a lot of those things are
Yeah.
worth it.
Definitely. I think so too. Again,
You have to want to do
right.
it
I was just
though.
about to say again with the willingness, like you have to fight
Yeah, you have
for
to
it.
want to.
It's not something that just happens. It's not something that is like held together with TikTok videos and,
Yeah.
blogging or vlogging or whatever it's called. Like, and I think a lot of people these days want the image of a super
What
dope,
they think a
yeah,
marriage should look
marriage,
like,
yeah,
and oh
all the
yeah,
trips and um the vacations
all the
and
parties and entertaining, and
yeah, but
yes.
that's not, that's cool. And hey, more power to you if you can do that all the time. But that is not what
Yes.
a marriage consists of, like the for real, raw, day to day, month in, year out. It's not what, it's not
Yes.
realistic. And so,
You have to ask yourself, how did they get there? How
yeah,
do we get there? How do we get to a point to where we are? Because I do think that I feel like whenever Jared and I go on vacation, it feels like a honeymoon
yeah,
all over again, honest to God. But I feel like you have to make time and plan those things. Even myself, early on in my marriage, we neglected each other and we stopped
mhm,
dating each other. And I think that just comes with complacency. I think that we get used to um each other just being there and we just forget to
mhm.
date each other. And I think that, work gets in the way, kids get in the way, all these things. And you you have to keep those
Yeah,
things in check.
absolutely. And it's hard, but just put in the work, keep on keeping on. And I've heard people say like communication is key, but no, because you can talk all day, but if you're not comprehending what I'm saying, if we're not taking it to heart
Yes.
and you're not really seeing me and hearing me, then I'm just talking to you. Like, no.
And you have to learn to not take things so personal too, because I feel like, you can say something, and I feel like we do it to each other a lot. Like, I mean, you are somebody that I value your opinion. You've been married. I see how, you and Lee, how you all's relationship is, and I value things like that. So I think that's also important. When you go to talk to people about your relationship, know who you're
Yeah.
talking to and know that they have your best interests at heart. Because if every time you want to go and confide, and I will say, I don't think everybody and their mom should know the struggles that you guys are
Mm-mm.
going through. But I do think that it is okay to talk to people who you respect
Yes.
and value. If you constantly going to somebody and they're being like, girl, leave him, or, leave her, and something like that, those people are not
No.
always in your corner. Remember that misery loves company. And some people just like to see
Yes.
you fail. So I will say that um early on in my marriage, before Jared and I ever went to like counseling and stuff like that, I felt like all the things that I were feeling were validated, and I never for 1 second thought to myself, does he even understand where
Mm.
I'm coming from? I feel like a lot of times I just would talk at him opposed to making sure that he knew where I was
Yeah.
coming from. So I feel like, it's absolutely 100% correct that they have to
Yeah,
comprehend it.
definitely. And another thing is I have been really trying to work on myself because it's so easy to point the finger and be like, he don't do this, he don't do that, he says this, he doesn't say that. But then what is it that I'm doing? What can I
Right.
change? What how am I making him feel? And I think a lot of times because we have such strong men, we have men who will show up whether they feel like it or not. They're hardworking, they're dedicated, great fathers.
Mm-hmm.
It is so easy to assume that they're okay. It's so easy to be like,
Right.
oh, his meals are cooked, his lunch is packed, his clothes are washed, everything's fine and dandy. But a lot of times it's those very men who are needing somebody to vent to, who are needing you to see them, who are needing you to understand everything's not
Yeah.
okay. And again, that's where the not just the communication, but the comprehension comes in. Like, okay, I need to stop seeing everything that he's doing wrong. What am I doing? And what can I do to change?
Yeah, or what is causing him to do these things. I can remember even when you were talking about it, like how men do not, talk about their feelings and stuff. I can remember when I would like come home every day and cook, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do as a woman. I'm supposed to come home, make sure my man got something to eat, all those things. And I felt like because I cooked, he should wash the dishes. Because I'm cooking and giving the girls a bath, he can at least clean the kitchen. And now here it is, things have just dramatically changed because he gets off significantly earlier than me. he will cook and wash the dishes. And I find myself just being
Oh,
like, all those times I was so upset. I know all those times I was so upset. I haven't washed the dish
right.
not yet. So I definitely find myself just being
Yes.
humble more than
Yeah.
anything. Being humble because it's like it was at a time that I felt like I was giving 70%, he was giving 30. And I can confidently say that now I'm probably the one giving 30, he's giving 70. And I feel like it
Yeah.
makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference just to number one, learn their love language. Number two, talk, make sure they comprehend it. Number three, make sure that you're just setting aside
Mhm.
time for everybody, for each other, for your children, just everything. Because it is so easy to make excuses for your
Yeah.
relationships because we take for granted that we'll
Hmm.
always be there. They'll always be
Right. And
there.
that's, you don't just want somebody there. You want them present. You want them happy.
Yes.
You want them involved. You want them excited to see you. You don't want your man coming home being like, oh, where's she at? Maybe I can slide in, without her seeing me. You want him to like come home and be happy to wrap you up in a kiss.
Happy to
Yes.
come home. Yeah. First of all, happy to come home because it can be a
Yeah.
place of dread. If you're not happy in your home, you have to figure out what is making my home life not
Yes.
okay. If you rather stay at work
Hi.
than to come home,
Then something is really wrong.
absolutely.
Yeah. Anywho.
So, to answer your initial question, as in how did our ancestors stay married for so long? I think because they had perseverance, they didn't give up as easy. I do think that, like I stated in the beginning, that it is, much harder because of just how the world has changed so much. But I'm definitely interested to see what our viewers think. I mean, leave a comment down below and tell us how you think that our ancestors lasted just 40 and 50 and 60 years. And if you have a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or uncle who is still in a successful, long-lasting relationship, drop a comment. We'd love
Yeah,
to talk
or
to
what
them.
you do currently in your relationship to keep it moving, to keep hope alive, to just keep persevering.
Give
Yeah.
us some advice. Give the audience some advice. So we hope to see you in the comments. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for joining us on Let's Talk About It with Leah and Ja'Lisa.
Bye.
Bye.